The morning my husband dropped to his knees beside 2 body bags. He screamed at me as if I had killed his parents. "Why didn't you tell me it was them?" Ryan's face was gray, his eyes wild, his hands shaking as he grabbed both of my arms. "Why the hell didn't you tell me?" For 1 second I couldn't speak. Rainwater ran from my hair into my eyes. My clothes were soaked through. I had been awake all night, calling dispatchers, begging rescuers, staring into a mountain ravine while 2 people I loved waited somewhere below. And Ryan had the nerve to blame me. I looked at the white sheet covering his mother's face. Then I looked at the man I had married 8 years earlier. I didn't know, I whispered. Ryan's fingers tightened. If I'd known it was Mom and Dad, I would have brought every truck I had. That was the moment something inside me finally broke. Not because George and Linda Carter were dead. Not because my husband had refused my call, but because of what his words really meant. I stared straight into his eyes. So my parents weren't worth saving? Ryan froze. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. By the time I learned what he had really known that night, our marriage was already dead. I just hadn't buried it yet. 3 days earlier I had still been trying to save it. My name is Emily Walker. I was 32, and for most of my marriage, I thought loyalty meant staying through the ugly parts. I used to work as an ER nurse at Mission Hospital in Asheville. I loved that job. I loved knowing what to do when everyone else was panicking. I loved the rhythm of it, the questions, the decisions, the fact that when someone came through those doors scared and bleeding, nobody stopped to ask whether they were rich enough to deserve help. Then I married Ryan Carter. When Ryan started Carter Technical Rescue, he had almost nothing. 1 used utility truck, a few sets of rope equipment, 3 employees who weren't always sure their paychecks would clear, and a business plan he carried around in a black binder like it was a winning lottery ticket. Back then, Ryan was different. Or maybe I was. One night during our first year of marriage, I found him sitting at the kitchen table with both hands over his face. "We're done," he said. I set my purse down. "What happened?" "The insurance premium is due Friday. Payroll is Monday." He gave a bitter laugh. "I can cover one." I sat across from him. "How much?" Ryan looked up immediately. "No." I asked how much. "Emily, no." "How much?" He told me. I transferred money from my savings account the next morning. That money had been for graduate school. Ryan cried when he saw the transfer. He pulled me against him and said, "I swear to God, when this company works, everybody is going to know you built it with me." I believed him. A few months later, I cut back my hospital shifts to help with the company. Then I left nursing completely. First, it made sense. Ryan needed someone to manage insurance certificates, employee schedules, equipment logs, client calls, county paperwork, billing disputes, and the dozens of things he hated doing. I knew emergency systems. I knew how people behaved in a crisis. I knew how to organize chaos. So I did. When Ryan went out on calls, I stayed up handling the paperwork. When a client refused to pay, I argued with the insurance company. When one of his technicians got hurt, I drove him to urgent care and filled out the workers' compensation forms. When Ryan forgot anniversaries, birthdays, and family dinners because he was building something, I defended him. For years, whenever anyone praised him, he used to point at me and say, "She's the reason I'm still in business." Then the business became successful, and Ryan stopped pointing at me. By our 8th year of marriage, Carter Technical Rescue had a fleet of vehicles, specialized high-angle rescue equipment, private commercial clients, and contracts throughout western North Carolina. Ryan wore expensive watches now. He liked bourbon tastings and charity golf events. He talked about client profiles and market positioning. And somewhere along the way, the woman who had helped build his company became the wife who didn't understand business. That week, I was standing in our kitchen when Ryan walked in wearing the navy jacket he saved for corporate events. I glanced at the clock. "You're leaving?" He didn't look at me. "I told you. Dinner at Summit Ridge." I stared at him. "No. You told me there was a meeting this afternoon." "Dinner is part of the meeting." "Ryan, it's our anniversary." That finally made him look up. He blinked once. Then his expression changed just enough for me to know. He had forgotten. "Emily, 8 years. I know how long we've been married. Do you?" His jaw tightened. "Don't start." I laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. "I made reservations. Then cancel them." I stared at him. He adjusted one cuff. "Travis Blake is deciding who gets the long-term rescue contract for the resort. Do you understand what that could mean for us?" "Us?" He gave me an irritated look. Yes, that's funny. Because lately, whenever you talk about the company, it's yours. But whenever you need me to be understanding, suddenly it's ours. Jesus, Emily. I folded my arms. Will Megan be there? Ryan's face hardened instantly. And there it was. Megan Blake. His high school girlfriend. His first love. The woman who had moved back to Asheville after a divorce 6 months earlier. The woman whose older brother, Travis, happened to run one of the most expensive mountain resorts in the area. Ryan grabbed his keys. Yes, Megan will be there. She works with her brother. She works in event planning. She has influence. So do you need the contract? Or do you need an excuse to spend every week with your ex-girlfriend? Ryan gave me a look I had started seeing more and more. Not anger. Worse. Embarrassment. As if I were being unsophisticated. You know what your problem is? I felt my stomach tighten. No. Go ahead. You've been out of the professional world too long. For a moment I thought I'd misheard him. What? You think every dinner is personal. Every conversation means something. Megan understands networking, business relationships. And I don't? You stay home most days, Emily. The words landed hard. I stared at him. He seemed to realize what he had said, but instead of apologizing, he doubled down. I'm not insulting you. I'm saying our lives are different. Our lives are different because I quit my career to help build yours. There it is. He rolled his eyes. You bring that up every time we fight. Because you keep acting like I've done nothing for 8 years. I never said nothing. You just said I sit at home. I said you don't understand the pressure I'm under. I shook my head. What pressure? Having dinner with your ex on your wedding anniversary? Ryan looked toward the door. This is exactly why I didn't want to get into this. I stepped between him and the entryway. Then answer one question. His mouth flattened. What? If Travis didn't own that resort, would you be spending this much time with Megan? Ryan stared at me for 2 full seconds. Then he smiled without humor. You're jealous. I'm asking you a question. You're insecure, and instead of dealing with it, you want me to damage the biggest opportunity this company has had in years. There's that word again. This company. He exhaled sharply. Move, Emily. No. His eyes narrowed. I'm not doing this tonight. Neither am I. I reached for his keys. He pulled his hand back. What are you doing? Trying to figure out if my husband cares more about an anniversary or a contract. Ryan's expression went cold. That's childish. And forgetting your wife to impress your ex-girlfriend is what? His voice rose. She is not my girlfriend. Then stop treating her better than your wife. Silence. Ryan looked at me like I had become a problem he needed to manage. Then he said the sentence that stayed with me long after he left. Sometimes I wonder what you even contribute anymore. I stopped breathing. Ryan immediately looked away. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. I finally asked, did you really just say that? He rubbed his forehead. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I mean, I carry everything now. My voice dropped. You carry everything? Financially? Yes. I stared at him. You remember who paid your insurance when you couldn't make payroll? His face tightened. 8 years ago. Who handled every contract before you hired an office manager? Here we go. Who answered calls at 2 in the morning? Emily. Who gave up her nursing career because you said you needed someone you could trust? Ryan's face hardened. I never forced you to quit. That hurt more than the first sentence. Maybe because it was technically true. He had never put a gun to my head. He had only stood in our kitchen 8 years earlier and told me he couldn't build the company without me. And I had loved him enough to believe that mattered. I stepped aside. Go. Ryan hesitated. For one foolish second I thought he might stay. Instead he opened the door. Before he left he said, I'll make it up to you. I didn't answer. 2 hours later my mother-in-law called. Linda never bothered with small talk when she knew something was wrong. What did my son do? I almost smiled. What makes you think Ryan did anything? Because it's your anniversary. And George just showed me a picture Megan Blake posted from that resort dinner. My throat tightened. I'm fine. Emily. That one word nearly broke me. Linda had been the first person in Ryan's family to treat me like I belonged there. She never cared that my parents were working class. She never cared that Dad drove an old Ford and fixed his own appliances. She liked my parents. George liked them too. Ryan was the one who had changed. Linda sighed. Did he forget? Yes. Oh honey, please don't call him. I wasn't going to. Yes you were. I was going to call him and ask whether he suffered a head injury. Despite myself, I laughed. Linda waited until I stopped. Then she said, "Listen to me. You gave that man a lot." "I know." "No, I don't think you do." I looked down at my untouched dinner. Linda continued, "Ryan's gotten very impressed with himself lately. That's one way to put it. George sees it too." I was quiet. Linda lowered her voice. "He came home last week talking about your parents' house again." My face warmed with embarrassment. "What did he say?" "That Tom should sell before it falls apart." "It's not falling apart." "I know. He hates that house because it reminds him where we started." Linda paused. Then she said, "Don't let Ryan make you feel small just because he finally learned how to make money." I swallowed. "I'm trying. Maybe stop trying so hard." I didn't know what she meant then. Later I would. The next evening, George and Linda were supposed to have dinner with my parents. My dad, Tom, had been planning it for days because George liked his smoked ribs. Around 4 that afternoon, Dad called me. "You coming over? I thought this was your double date night." He laughed. "Your mother says 4 old people eating barbecue doesn't count as a double date." I smiled. "How's that glamorous Ford of yours?" "Watch your mouth. That truck has character. That truck has rust." Character. Dad had owned his F-150 for more than a decade. Ryan hated it. He once told me it was embarrassing when Dad parked it in front of our house during a company cookout. I had told him the only embarrassing thing was caring that much about a truck. He hadn't laughed. Around 7, Mom texted me a picture of George holding a plate while Dad stood beside the grill. Linda was laughing in the background. For a few seconds, looking at that picture, I felt normal. That was the last picture ever taken of George and Linda alive. At 9:46 p.m., my phone rang. It was Mom. I answered immediately. "Hey, did Dad burn dessert too?" Mom didn't laugh. "Emily?" Her voice was wrong. I sat up. "What happened?" "George and Linda left here almost an hour ago." "So, they're not answering." I frowned. "They probably stopped somewhere." "No. George said they were going straight home." My pulse started to climb. "Why are you calling me?" Mom hesitated. Then she said, "Because their SUV wouldn't start." I stood. "What?" "George tried it twice. Your dad told him not to worry about it." My stomach turned cold. "Mom, what did they drive?" Silence. Then, "Your dad loaned them the Ford." I didn't know why that scared me yet. 5 minutes later, another call came through. Unknown number. "Emily Walker?" "Yes, this is Buncombe County Dispatch. Your number was listed as an emergency family contact connected to a vehicle registered to Thomas Walker." I gripped the counter. "What happened?" "We have a report of damaged guardrail and possible tire tracks off a mountain road. A witness reported seeing an older Ford pickup in the area shortly before." My knees nearly gave out. "Was anyone found?" "Not yet." "Where?" The dispatcher gave me the road. I knew it. Everyone who lived near the mountains knew roads like that. One bad curve. One hard rain. One mistake. My hands started shaking. I thought of my father. My mother. The old Ford. I forgot what Mom had just told me about George and Linda. Or maybe my mind simply refused to process it. I opened Ryan's contact and called. Once. No answer. Again. No answer. I called a third time. Across town, my husband was at Summit Ridge Resort with the one woman I had begged him to stay away from. And somewhere in the mountains, a truck belonging to my father had disappeared over a guardrail. When Ryan finally answered, music and voices carried through the phone. He sounded annoyed. "Emily, what is it?" I pressed one hand over my mouth. "Ryan." He must have heard something in my voice because his tone changed slightly. "What happened?" "Dad's truck went off the mountain road." A pause. "What?" "They found the guardrail damaged. They think the truck went down the ravine." "Is your dad in it?" "I don't know." That was the truth. At that exact second, I still didn't know. My voice broke. "Ryan, please. Dad and Mom could be down there." He went quiet. I could hear someone near him ask a question. "A woman. Megan." Then Ryan said, "Where are the county crews?" "They're going there, but you have the technical equipment." "Emily, please." My chest tightened. "Dad and Mom are in trouble. Take your team and go help them." Ryan sighed. Not in fear. Not in shock. In irritation. And before that night was over, my husband would make one decision based on who he thought was inside that truck. A decision he would spend the rest of his life wishing he could take back. Ryan's next sentence was so calm that, for a second, I thought I had misunderstood him. "Emily, I'm not pulling my entire team out of Summit Ridge for this. I tightened my grip on the phone. What? You said the county is already responding. They can't get down the ravine yet. Then they'll bring in whoever they need. You are who they need. Ryan exhaled. I could hear voices behind him, glasses clinking, someone laughing. My husband was standing at a resort dinner, while I was trying to figure out whether my parents were alive at the bottom of a mountain. Ryan, listen to me. Please. I am listening. No, you're not. My voice cracked. Dad and Mom may be trapped down there. Another pause. Then Ryan asked, which truck? My dad's Ford. The old F-150? Yes. I heard him mutter something under his breath. What? Nothing. Ryan. He lowered his voice. Emily, moving a technical team isn't like calling a tow truck. I know that. Do you? That tone. The same tone he used now whenever he wanted to remind me that the company was his world and I was no longer part of it. We'd have to pull ropes, rescue systems, winches, medical gear, and at least 4 trained people. Half my equipment is staged here. I know what your equipment is. I used to inventory it. This is not the time. No, this is exactly the time. He went quiet. I could hear Megan nearby. Ryan. Her voice was soft, concerned. Too close. Then another male voice, probably Travis. We need you back in 5. I shut my eyes. Are you seriously at dinner talking about getting back to the table while my parents may be dying? Ryan's voice hardened. Stop making this dramatic. I stared at the wall. Dramatic? I didn't say it isn't serious. You just called me dramatic. I'm saying the county handles emergencies like this all the time. No, they don't have enough high-angle equipment there yet. Dispatch said they're requesting technical support. That made him hesitate. Only for a second. Then he said, from who? I don't know. Exactly. I felt my stomach twist. Why does that matter? Because they have mutual aid procedures. Ryan, your company works those procedures. When there's a contract or an authorized request, they may already be contacting you. I haven't seen one. Then call your dispatcher. I was crying openly now. I am begging you. Ryan's breathing changed. He was getting angry. Not scared. Not desperate. Angry at me. You want me to walk out of a contract dinner, pull my best guys, burn through fuel and equipment, and send a private rescue team into a storm because your family can't wait for county response? The words hit me one at a time. My family? Yes, they're my parents. I know who they are. Then why are you talking like this? He said nothing. I wiped my face with the heel of my hand. Ryan, if this were Megan's family, would you be asking what it cost? Don't do that. Answer me. This has nothing to do with Megan. She's standing right next to you. You don't know where she's standing. I can hear her. Emily. His voice dropped into a warning. Your parents don't have money for a private rescue. For a moment, I honestly forgot how to breathe. What did you just say? He sounded impatient. You know exactly what I mean. No. Say it again. Don't turn this into something it isn't. What is it, then? Business. I laughed once. Came out broken. My parents might be dying. And I'm supposed to move an entire crew for a job nobody can pay for? I pressed my hand against my chest. They're people. I know that. Then act like it. Emily, I have responsibilities. So do I. To what? The question stunned me. To them. I could barely get the words out. To my family. Ryan sighed again. I'm not saying I won't help. I'm saying the county needs to handle the primary response. They need your equipment. They have rescue teams. They don't have yours. Then they can request it properly. I looked at the incoming rain warnings on my phone. You know what? Fine. I'll call dispatch again. I'll make sure they request you. Ryan said nothing. I added, and when they do, you better answer. His voice turned cold. Don't threaten me. I'm not threatening you. I swallowed. I'm asking my husband to help save my parents. There was another pause. Then Megan said something I couldn't fully hear. Ryan answered her. Yeah, I'm coming. My blood went cold. Ryan. He came back to the call. I have to go. No. Emily. No. Do not hang up on me. Call the county. Ryan. The line went dead. I stared at my phone. For several seconds I couldn't move. Then I called him again. Straight to voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. That was the first time that night I understood I was on my own. Called 911 back. This is Emily Walker. I called about the Ford off Old Mill Creek Road. Yes, ma'am. Do you have a technical rescue team coming? We have county fire and volunteer rescue units responding. They need high-angle gear. We're aware. My husband runs Carter Technical Rescue. There was a brief pause. We have their contact information. Call them. Mom, please, call them. We have requested additional technical resources. Did you call Ryan Carter? I can't discuss individual vendor communications. Then call him again. My voice broke. He has the equipment. The dispatcher softened. We're doing everything we can. I hung up and drove. By the time I reached the road closure, several emergency vehicles were already there. A deputy stopped me. You can't go past this point. My parents may be down there. I understand. No, you don't. I tried to move around him. He stepped in front of me. Ma'am, stop. Then tell me what's happening. He glanced toward a firefighter in a yellow rain shell. A tall man in his early 40s walked over. His face was serious, controlled. Emily Walker? Yes, I'm Daniel Brooks. Buncombe County Fire. Did you find them? Not yet. Then why are you standing here? His expression didn't change. Because the slope is unstable, visibility is poor, and I'm not sending more people over an edge without the right system in place. My husband has the right system. Daniel looked at me for a second too long. I know who your husband is. Then call him. We've made calls. Something in his tone bothered me. What does that mean? It means we're working on additional support. Did Ryan answer? Daniel's jaw shifted. Emily, right now I need you to stay behind the line. EM&ER nurse. I stared at him. How do you know that? Your name came up through the emergency contact information. I can help. You can help by staying alive. I'm not standing here while my parents are down there. Daniel stepped closer. His voice stayed low. If you go over that edge, I have to divert people to get you. I know what rescue priorities are. Then act like it. That stopped me. Not because he was rude. Because he was right. I hated him for being right. I stepped back. Do you think they're alive? Daniel didn't lie to me. I don't know. Could they be? Yes. That one word became everything. I called Dad. No answer. Mom. No answer. Dad again. Voicemail. Escena text. Call me. Then another. Please. Then another. If you can see this, respond. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. Daniel came back 10 minutes later. We've located the truck. My heart slammed against my ribs. Where? Down the ravine. Can you see inside? Not clearly. Are they moving? We don't know. I tried to step forward again. Daniel lifted one hand. Don't. What are you waiting for? A safe descent. Ryan can do it. His expression tightened. Emily. What? Stop saying his name like he's the only rescue option. He owns the best technical gear within 20 miles. I know. Then why isn't he here? Daniel looked at me. For the first time I saw something in his face. Anger. Not at me. At someone else. Before he could answer, my phone rang. Mom. I almost dropped it. I answered so fast I hit the wrong button once. Mom. Emily. Her voice was clear. Alive. I pressed a hand over my mouth. Oh my God. Emily, what's wrong? I couldn't speak. Mom. I'm here. You're okay? Yes. Where's Dad? He's right here. I turned toward Daniel. The world seemed to tilt. My mother was alive. My father was alive. I had spent the last hour begging my husband to rescue people who weren't even in that truck. Mom, I whispered. Whose truck is down the ravine? Silence. Then she said, what? The Ford. Dad's Ford. Oh God. Her voice changed. Emily, I told you. Told me what? George and Linda borrowed it. My knees nearly gave out. Daniel caught my elbow. I pulled away and gripped the phone harder. What? George's SUV wouldn't start. Your dad loaned him the truck. I could hear my father in the background. What happened? What's wrong? Mom started crying. They left here before 9. I looked at Daniel. It's not my parents. He frowned. What? It's George and Linda Carter. His face changed immediately. Ryan's parents? I nodded. My entire body went cold. Called Ryan. No answer. Again. No answer. Again. Straight to voicemail. I left a message. Ryan, call me. Now. I tried again. Nothing. Another message. It's your parents. George and Linda are in Dad's truck. I started crying harder. Ryan, please answer me. Nothing. Daniel was already speaking into his radio. Victim identification updated. Possible occupants George Carter and Linda Carter. The radio crackled. Then a voice answered. Copy. Daniel looked at me. We need confirmation. My parents said they borrowed the truck. He nodded. Do George and Linda have cell phones? Yes. Give me the numbers. I did. For the next 20 minutes, everyone moved faster. Or maybe it only felt that way because now I knew exactly who was down there. George, Linda, the two people who had defended me when their own son wouldn't. Called Ryan at least 10 more times. He never answered. Finally, I called Carter Technical Rescue directly. A young dispatcher named Kyle picked up. Carter Technical Rescue. This is Emily Carter. He paused. Mrs. Carter? Where's Ryan? Where is he? Summit Ridge, I think. I know that. Put me through to someone who can deploy a team. Kyle went quiet. Mrs. Carter, I can't do that. What? I don't have authorization. You've got 4 technicians staged at Summit Ridge. Another pause. How do you know that? Because I helped create the staffing system you still use. Mrs. Carter. Send them. I can't. Then call Marcus. He's with the crew. Good. Tell him George and Linda Carter are in a vehicle at the bottom of a ravine. Kyle stopped breathing for a second. What? You heard me. I was told it was a county assist. It is. No, I mean, he stopped himself. What were you told? Nothing. Kyle, I can't discuss this. I used to sign your paychecks. That was years ago. Then do one decent thing and tell me why Ryan hasn't deployed. Silence. Then Kyle whispered there was already a request. My heart stopped. What? I shouldn't have said that. What request? I have to go. Kyle. The line disconnected. I stared at my phone. Daniel was watching me. What happened? I think your department already called them. He didn't answer. That was when I knew. You did. Daniel's face remained still. You contacted Carter Technical Rescue. Yes. When? Earlier. And? He looked away. And they declined. The words didn't make sense at first. They what? They said their primary technical assets were committed to a private commercial event. I shook my head. No. Emily. No. Ryan didn't know it was his parents. Daniel looked at me carefully. I heard my own voice getting faster. He thought it was mine. That's why. Daniel's expression became unreadable. That doesn't make it better. I know. But the terrible truth was, part of me was still trying to find a version that made sense. A version where my husband was selfish but not monstrous. A version where he would hear the names George Carter and Linda Carter and come running. I called him again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. I sent one final text. Your mom and dad are in that truck. Call me. Then I waited. 5 minutes. 10. 20. Nothing. Around 2 a.m. Daniel brought me coffee I didn't drink. Sit down. I can't. You're shaking. I'm fine. You're not. I looked at him. My husband still hasn't called me back. Daniel's mouth tightened. Maybe his phone. Don't. He stopped. Don't make excuses for him. I wasn't. Good. I stared at the emergency vehicles. Do you have children? Daniel shook his head. Was married once. What happened? He gave me a tired look. This probably isn't the best night for my divorce story. Despite everything, a breath of laughter escaped me. It vanished almost immediately. Linda called me yesterday. Daniel waited. She told me not to let Ryan make me feel small. My eyes burned. I think she knew something was wrong with him before I did. Parents usually do. Then why did she still love him? Daniel looked at me like the answer was obvious. Because he was her son. I stared down at my hands. That doesn't mean she deserved what he did. No. His answer came quickly. No, it doesn't. Just before dawn, weather conditions improved enough for the technical team to descend. Not Ryan's team. Another regional rescue unit had arrived from farther away. I watched them prepare. I watched them disappear over the edge. I prayed. I begged. I promised things to God I wasn't sure I believed in. Then I saw Daniel walking toward me. One look at his face told me. No. He stopped. Emily. No. I'm sorry. Don't. They found both occupants. Alive? Daniel didn't answer quickly enough. I grabbed his sleeve. Alive? His eyes softened. No. The sound that came out of me didn't feel human. I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember who put a blanket around me. I only remember watching 2 rescue stretchers come back up. 2 covered bodies. George. Linda. And still Ryan wasn't there. He arrived almost 40 minutes later. His SUV came through the roadblock fast. He jumped out before the door had fully closed. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair was a mess. He looked irritated. Not devastated. Not yet. He walked toward me. What the hell happened? I stared at him. He looked past me toward the covered stretchers. Then back at me. Why did you send me 20 messages? I couldn't answer. He stepped closer. Emily? A rescuer moved beside one of the stretchers. The sheet shifted slightly. A hand became visible. On the wrist was George Carter's silver anniversary watch. Ryan stopped moving. His face emptied. No. Nobody said anything. He took one step forward. Then another. No. He bent down and pulled the sheet back. His father's face was underneath. Ryan made a sound I had never heard before. He staggered backward, then dropped to his knees. Dad. His hand shook as he reached out. Dad, no. Then he looked at the second stretcher. Mom. I shut my eyes. Ryan crawled toward her. Someone tried to stop him, but he pushed the man away. He uncovered Linda's face. And he broke. He cried. He shouted. He begged his mother to wake up. For a few seconds watching him, I almost forgot everything he had said to me hours earlier. I almost forgot that he had chosen not to come. I knelt beside him. Ryan. He turned. His face was wet, twisted with grief. Then something in his expression changed. Confusion. Then anger. He grabbed my arm. Why didn't you tell me? I stared at him. What? Why didn't you tell me it was them? His voice rose. Why the hell didn't you tell me? I didn't know. You called me. I thought it was my parents. If you had told me. I didn't know. If I knew it was Mom and Dad, I would have brought every truck I had. The world went silent. I looked at him. At the man kneeling between his dead parents. At the husband who had just admitted, without even realizing it, exactly what he had done. My voice came out almost calm. So my parents weren't worth saving? Ryan froze. Behind him, Daniel slowly turned his head. And for the first time I saw something close to disgust on his face. Ryan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. But that wasn't the worst thing I learned that morning. Because while Ryan was screaming that he hadn't known who was in the truck, Daniel already knew something I didn't. The official support request sent to Carter Technical Rescue had included both victims' full names. George Carter, Linda Carter, and someone at Ryan's company had refused it anyway. At Linda Carter's funeral, my husband looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't family. Then he seated Megan Blake in the front row beside him. For 8 years, Linda had called me the daughter she never had. For 8 years, George had introduced me as our Emily. And less than a week after they died, Ryan decided grief gave him permission to erase me from the family entirely. That should have been the moment I walked away. It wasn't. The truth was, I was still too numb to understand how far he was willing to go. The morning after the recovery, I woke up on the couch in the clothes I had worn to the mountain. My body hurt everywhere. Ryan had never come home. I checked my phone for missed calls from my mother, 2 from my father, 1 from Ryan's younger sister, Rachel, and 12 messages from people I barely knew. The first one said, "I'm so sorry about Ryan's parents." The second, "I heard there was some confusion about who was in the truck. Are you okay?" The third was worse. "Rachel says Ryan didn't know it was George and Linda. What happened?" I stared at that sentence. Ryan didn't know. It had already started. I called Rachel. She answered on the first ring. "Emily?" Her voice was raw. "Hey, what happened?" "No, hello." "No, are you okay?" "Just that." I sat up slowly. "What do you mean?" "Ryan said you called him and told him your parents were in the truck." "I thought they were." "You thought?" My chest tightened. "Rachel, your mom and dad borrowed my father's truck. I didn't know that when dispatch called." She started crying. "Why didn't you know?" The question hit me harder than it should have. Because nobody called me to tell me they switched cars. "But Mom talked to you all the time." "Rachel, she texted you every day. That doesn't mean she told me every time she borrowed a vehicle." Rachel's breathing turned uneven. "Ryan said if you told him it was them, he would have gone." I closed my eyes. There it was. He had already given her the version. Not I refused to go because I thought the people were poor. Not I chose a resort contract over a rescue call. Not I ignored my wife begging me to help. Just, Emily didn't tell me. "Rachel," I said carefully, "Ryan knew there was a vehicle down a ravine. He knew people might be trapped. He chose not to go because he thought they were my parents." She went silent. Then, "That's not what he said." I know. He said you didn't explain. I explained enough for him to know two people could be dying. You're making him sound horrible. I stared at the wall. I'm telling you what happened. My parents are dead. I know. No, you don't. Her voice rose. They were my parents. And they were people I loved. You're not their daughter. That one hurt. Mostly because Rachel had never spoken to me like that before.
¿Y whisperat? No.
I wasn't. She hung up. I sat there for a long time after the call ended. Then my mother came over. The second she saw my face, she dropped her purse and wrapped both arms around me. Oh, honey. I didn't cry. I had cried too much already. Dad came in behind her carrying coffee. He looked older than he had a week earlier. This is because of my truck. No. He frowned. If I hadn't loaned it. Dad, stop. If George had taken his own SUV, he couldn't. It broke down. I should have driven them. You couldn't know. Dad looked away. I recognized the expression immediately. Guilt. The same thing Ryan had planted inside me. Mom sat beside me. What did Ryan say?
You almost lied.
Then I remembered Linda telling me to stop making myself small. He blamed me. Mom's face changed. For what? For not telling him who was in the truck. Dad turned sharply. He didn't know either. No. And he still refused to go? Yes. Dad's jaw tightened. He thought it was us. I nodded. My father said nothing for several seconds. Then he put the coffee down so hard some spilled over the lid. That son of a bitch. Dad. No. His face was red now. I'm done protecting him because he's grieving. Mom touched his arm. Tom. He told my daughter we weren't worth the gas. My throat closed. Dad pointed toward the window as if Ryan were standing outside. He stood in my backyard last summer eating food I paid for and laughed about my truck. He let me fix his mother's porch rail. He sat at our Thanksgiving table. And when he thought Susan and I were in a ravine, he wanted to know who was paying. Dad, please. No. You need to hear this. His expression softened when he looked at me. You did not do this. I looked away. He crouched in front of me. Emily. I forced myself to meet his eyes. You called him. Yes. You called 911. Yes. You went to the scene. Yes. You stayed all night. I nodded. Then you did more for George and Linda than their own son did. That was when I finally cried. Not because I believed him yet, but because I wanted to. Ryan came home that evening. He walked in without looking at me. He looked terrible. His eyes were swollen. His shirt was wrinkled. For a second, the anger in me weakened. Then he said, Rachel called you. It wasn't a question. Yes. What did you tell her? I stared at him. The truth. His jaw tightened. Emily. What? You need to be careful right now. I laughed softly. Careful. My family is grieving. So am I. They are my parents. And they loved me too. Don't make this about you. That sentence again. I stood. I am not making it about me. You told Rachel I refused to help. You did. I made a decision based on bad information. You made a decision based on money. His eyes flashed. That is not what happened. You said my parents couldn't afford a private rescue. I was trying to explain resource allocation. I stared at him. Resource allocation? He rubbed both hands over his face. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under. You think you're under pressure? Yes. My in-laws are dead. My husband refused to help them because he thought they were my parents. And now your sister thinks I killed them because you need someone else to blame. I never said you killed them. You didn't have to. Ryan looked away. That told me enough. I stepped closer. What did you tell Rachel? He didn't answer. What exactly did you tell her? That you didn't know who was in the vehicle. That's true. And that you gave me incomplete information. That is not the same thing. It is relevant. To what? To why I didn't deploy. My heart started pounding. You are really doing this. Doing what? Building a defense. His expression hardened. You think I shouldn't defend myself? From what? He opened his mouth, then stopped. I saw it. Fear. For the first time since his parents died. I saw something in Ryan that wasn't grief. He was afraid. Not just of what he had done, of what it could cost him. The company is already getting questions, he said. I went still. What questions? County officials want to know why we didn't respond. We, the company. No, Ryan. Why you didn't respond? His eyes narrowed. Don't start separating me from the company now. You helped build it. I almost laughed. 3 days earlier I contributed nothing. Now I had helped build it. Funny how quickly ownership changed when there was liability involved. What did you tell them? That I didn't have verified victim information. My stomach dropped. That's a lie. It's not. You knew a vehicle was down a ravine. That isn't verified occupancy. You heard me crying. That doesn't count as operational verification. I stared at him. I was your wife. In business terms. No. My voice sharpened. Do not hide behind business terms. Ryan's face turned cold. I don't have the energy for this. Neither did your mother when she was trapped in that truck. His face twisted. Don't. You're right. I stepped back. I shouldn't have said that. For a second, guilt hit me. Then Ryan said, good. Because you've done enough. The guilt vanished. I stared at him. What does that mean? He looked toward the stairs. Nothing. No. Say it. Not tonight. Say it. Ryan turned back. His eyes were red, but his voice was flat. If you had been clearer, maybe my parents would still be alive. I felt something inside me go very quiet. Get out. He blinked. What? Get out of this room. Emily, go upstairs. Go to a hotel. Go to Megan. I don't care. His face changed at her name. There is nothing happening with Megan. I don't care anymore. That was the first time I said it. I didn't know yet whether it was true, but Ryan heard something in my voice that made him stop arguing. He went upstairs. 3 days later, we buried George. The funeral home was packed. George had spent years coaching youth baseball, helping neighbors repair decks, fixing lawn equipment for anyone who asked. People loved him. Linda's service was held the next morning. That one nearly broke me. I arrived early wearing the black dress Linda had helped me choose for a Christmas fundraiser 2 years earlier. She had told me I looked too serious in navy and made me buy black because it made my eyes look brighter. Standing there in it felt cruel. Rachel was near the front. When she saw me, she gave me a tight nod. I walked toward the first row. Ryan stepped in front of me. Where are you going? I frowned. To sit down. Not there. I thought I had misheard. What? The first row is family. I stared at him. I am family. His expression barely moved. Blood family. The words hit hard enough that I forgot to breathe. Ryan, I don't want drama today. I was Linda's daughter-in-law for 8 years. I know. Then move. His jaw tightened. Emily, please. That word. Please. Like I was the problem. I looked past him. Rachel was in the front row. So was an aunt. A cousin. And Megan. Megan Blake was sitting 3 seats from Ryan. I looked back at him. She gets to sit there? Ryan glanced toward Megan. She's supporting me. I actually smiled. Not because it was funny, because the cruelty was almost impressive. And what do you think I'm doing here? His eyes hardened. You've done enough. There it was again. This time other people heard it. Rachel looked down. Megan's face tightened just slightly. I stepped closer to Ryan. Do you believe I killed your mother? His eyes flickered. Don't do this here. Answer me. This isn't the place. Then where is? He looked away. And just like with Rachel, that was answer enough. I walked to the second row. I sat alone. During the service, I listened to people describe Linda as generous, stubborn, loyal, warm. Every story hurt. Afterward, I waited until most people had moved away from the casket. I had brought Linda's favorite silver brooch. She wore it every Thanksgiving. I wanted to leave it with her. When I reached toward the casket, Ryan caught my wrist. What are you doing? Leaving this for her? No. I stared at him. Let go. I said no. Why? That belongs to the family. She gave it to me. His grip tightened. Then keep it. I pulled my wrist free. You don't get to decide what she meant to me. Ryan's face darkened. And you don't get to act like you were closer to her than her own children. I never said I was. You don't have to. You always make yourself the wounded one. My mouth fell open. Before I could answer, Megan stepped between us. Ryan, not here. He looked at her. And just like that, he calmed down. That hurt more than I expected. Megan touched his arm. Come outside. Ryan let her guide him away. I stood beside Linda's casket with the brooch still in my hand. Rachel came up behind me. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she said quietly, Mom loved that. I nodded. She did. Rachel looked at the brooch. You can leave it. I turned toward her. Ryan said no. Her face tightened. Ryan doesn't get to decide everything. For the first time since the accident, I saw doubt in her. Small. But there. I placed the brooch beside Linda's hands. Then I walked away. When I got home that afternoon, I went into the home office. I needed something familiar. A spreadsheet, a schedule, anything that made sense. I opened my laptop and tried to log into the Carter Technical Rescue Operations portal. Password incorrect. I tried again. Same message. I checked my email. My company address had been deactivated. I stared at the screen. Ryan came in 10 minutes later. You changed my access. He didn't even pretend not to know what I meant. For now, I need to control company information. I built that filing system. I know. I managed those accounts for years. You don't work there anymore. I never technically stopped. Yes, you did. When? When we hired staff. You still had me review insurance renewals 6 months ago. His expression hardened. This is temporary. Why? Because there's an investigation. There it was again. You're afraid I'll see something. Ryan laughed once. Don't be ridiculous. Then give me access. No. Why? 'Cause I said no. I stared at him. Then through the wall I heard his phone ring. He stepped into the hall to answer. I shouldn't have listened. I did anyway. Megan. A pause. No, she doesn't know anything. My body went still. Another pause. I changed her access. I moved closer to the door. Ryan lowered his voice. The county is asking about the declined assist. My chest tightened. Then Megan said something on speaker. I only caught part of it. Bad information, protect the company. Ryan answered, that's what I'm doing. I stopped breathing. Megan again. Then make sure the records reflect that. Silence. Ryan said, I'm handling it. I stepped away from the door before he came back in. For the first time I understood. This wasn't only grief. This wasn't only guilt. Ryan was managing a story, and I was the story he planned to sacrifice. The next afternoon, Daniel Brooks called. Emily, can we talk? My hand tightened around the phone. About what? The accident. I've already told the deputy everything. This isn't about your statement. I went quiet. Daniel's voice stayed measured. There's something you need to see. What? I'd rather show you in person. An hour later, I met him at a county administration office. He closed the door behind us and placed a printed report on the table. I need you to understand something before you read this. I looked at him. What? This may change how you see your husband. I almost laughed. There isn't much left to change. Daniel didn't smile. He pushed the paper toward me. At the top was a timestamp. 11:42 p.m. Technical assistance request. I read the vehicle information, location, hazard conditions, equipment requested. Then I saw the victim identification. My heart stopped. George Carter. Linda Carter. I looked up. No. Daniel said nothing. I looked down again. The names were still there. This was sent to Ryan's company? Yes. When? Before midnight. Before I knew? Yes. My hand started shaking. And they declined? Daniel nodded. Who? We requested a high-angle technical team. Carter Technical Rescue responded that primary resources were unavailable due to a commercial commitment. I swallowed hard. Who authorized the refusal? Daniel hesitated, then pointed lower on the page. There was an account identifier. Carter admin. Ryan. I stared at it until the letters blurred. He knew. Daniel's face was grim. The request contained their names. I felt sick. He knew. At minimum, the company account that refused the request had access to the full dispatch information. I stood so quickly the chair scraped back. Why didn't you tell me that night? Because we were still verifying records, and you had just watched 2 people you loved come out of a ravine. He stood there and screamed at me. I know. He said if he had known. I heard him. I pressed both hands against my face. Then another thought hit me. Kyle. Daniel frowned. Who? The company dispatcher. He told me there had already been a request. Daniel nodded slowly. That fits. I looked back at the document, then at Daniel. What happens now? The county will review the response failure. And if Ryan says I gave him bad information, Daniel's expression hardened, then he has a problem. That night, I waited until Ryan was asleep. I went back into the office. He had cut off my current company access. But Ryan had forgotten something important. 8 years earlier, when Carter Technical Rescue was nothing but 2 laptops and a used truck, I had created the backup system myself. Not because I distrusted him, because I trusted technology less. I opened an old cloud storage account linked to our original administrative archive. The password still worked. Folders loaded slowly. Insurance, payroll, contracts, dispatch logs. My pulse climbed. I found the date of the accident. Opened the original file. There it was. 11:44 p.m. County Mutual Aid request received. 12:01 a.m. Captain declined deployment. Reason: primary technical assets retained at Summit Ridge demonstration. My hands went cold. Then I opened the current version. The wording had changed. Family caller failed to provide verified victim identification. Deployment delayed pending clarification. I stared at both versions side by side. Original. Modified. Someone had rewritten history. I checked the metadata. Modified 2 days after the accident. User: Ryan Carter. For several seconds I didn't move. Then I plugged a flash drive into the laptop. I copied both versions. The county request. The timestamps. The metadata. Everything. For the first time since George and Linda died, I didn't cry. I felt calm. Almost frighteningly calm. The next morning, Ryan walked into the kitchen while I was drinking coffee. He looked tired. Emily. I looked up. We need to talk. Okay. The insurance investigator may contact you. I set my mug down. What about the accident? I assumed. His eyes narrowed slightly. I need you to be clear about what happened. I almost smiled. How clear? You called me believing your parents were in the truck. Yes. You didn't know George and Linda were the victims. Yes. So you gave me incomplete information. I looked at him for a long moment. Is that what you want me to say? It's what happened. Behind my calm expression, I could feel the flash drive in my pocket. The real record. The one Ryan thought he had erased. I nodded slowly. Sure. Ryan relaxed. Just a little. He thought I was still the same woman who would protect him. He had no idea that the night before, I had copied the first piece of evidence that could destroy everything he was trying to save. The day I handed Ryan divorce papers, he looked more frightened than he had when the county opened an investigation into his company. What is this? He stared at the envelope in his hand as if it contained a death sentence. I stood across from him at the kitchen table. You know what it is? His eyes moved from the papers to my face. No. His voice was low. No, you don't get to do this right now. I almost laughed. Right now? My parents just died. And you spent the days after their funeral changing records and blaming me. His face tightened. That is not what happened. Then I guess you have nothing to worry about. Ryan dropped the papers on the table. Emily. I picked up my coffee. I have to be at the hospital in 40 minutes. He blinked. The hospital? Yes. What are you talking about? I'm going back to work. For the first time in years, I watched Ryan realize that I had made a decision without consulting him. And he hated it. 3 weeks earlier, I had still been waking up every morning with the same thought. Maybe I should have known. Maybe I should have asked George and Linda what they were driving. Maybe I should have explained better. Maybe I should have found another team sooner. Guilt is strange. It doesn't care whether something makes sense. It just keeps asking what you could have done differently. Then Daniel showed me the county dispatch record. Then I found Ryan's altered company log. And suddenly my question changed. Not what could I have done? What had Ryan done? That was when I called Mission Hospital. My former nurse manager, Karen Ellis, answered on the third ring. Emergency department, Karen speaking. My throat tightened when I heard her voice. Karen. There was a pause. Emily? I smiled despite myself. Yeah. Oh my God. Her voice changed immediately. I heard about George and Linda. I'm so sorry. Thank you. How are you? I looked around my kitchen. At Ryan's expensive coffee machine. At the framed business award on the wall. At a house where I no longer felt safe saying what I knew. I'm trying to figure that out. Karen waited. Then I said, I want to come back. Another pause. To nursing? Yes. You've been out a while. I know. Your license still active? Yes. I kept up the continuing education. Of course you did. That made me laugh softly. Karen had always said I was incapable of letting a certification expire. She lowered her voice. Do you want me to be honest? Please. You're going to need a return to practice orientation. Skills validation. Probably several supervised shifts before you're back at full assignment. I'll do all of it. And I can't promise your old schedule. I don't care. You may have to start with nights. I don't care. She went quiet. Then she said, "How soon can you come in?" I closed my eyes. For the first time since the accident, I felt something that wasn't grief. Relief. Tomorrow, my first day back in scrubs, I stood in the employee locker room staring at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, older than 32, but I also looked familiar. Like someone I had known before Ryan's company became the center of our lives. Karen walked in and leaned against the doorframe. "Still looks right."
Ich glänzte her.
"What?" "The scrubs." I looked down at myself. "I feel like I'm pretending." "You're not. I haven't worked an ER floor full-time in years. You handled triage during hurricane overflow with 6 open beds and 40 people waiting. That was a long time ago." Karen shrugged. "You didn't forget how to stay calm." I almost told her that I had spent the past 3 weeks doing nothing but falling apart. Instead I said, "We'll see." My first patient was a retired schoolteacher with chest pain. My second was a teenager who had broken his wrist skateboarding. My third came in vomiting and terrified because she thought she was having a heart attack. It was a panic attack. I sat beside her for 2 minutes and talked her through her breathing while the physician reviewed her labs. When she finally looked at me and said, "Thank you," something in my chest loosened. Not because I had saved her, because I had helped. Without asking what she owned. Without checking whether helping her was profitable. At the end of the shift, I sat in my car and cried. Not from sadness. From recognition. I had spent 8 years telling myself I had given up nursing for my marriage. That wasn't entirely true. I had given it up because Ryan needed me. Then somewhere along the way, I forgot that being needed was not the same thing as being valued. Ryan was waiting for me when I got home. He was sitting at the kitchen island with a glass of bourbon. He looked me up and down. "So you really did it?" I put my bag down. "Yes." "You went back?" "Yes." He gave a short laugh. "What?" "Nothing." "Say it." He swirled the bourbon. "I just don't understand why." I stared at him. "You don't understand why I want a job? You already had a role." "A role?" "With the company. With us." I almost smiled. "You locked me out of the company. Temporarily. You changed my email. Because there's an investigation. You told your sister I caused your parents' deaths." "I never said that. You made sure everyone else could." He looked away. I took off my jacket. "Besides, I don't want to depend on you anymore." That got his attention. His eyes snapped back to mine. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means exactly what it sounds like." His mouth tightened. "So this is punishment?" "No. You go back to nursing, stop talking to me, start keeping secrets." I froze. "What secrets?" Ryan watched me carefully. "Exactly." For 1 second I wondered if he knew. About the flash drive. About the original dispatch logs. About Daniel. Then he said, "You've barely spoken to me in days." I relaxed slightly. "That's not a secret. Emily, I am trying to hold together a company and bury both my parents at the same time. And I am trying to understand why you altered an accident record." His face went completely still. I had not meant to say it yet. But there it was. Ryan set the glass down. Slowly. "What?" I watched his eyes. No surprise. Only calculation. "You heard me. Where did you get that idea? Did you alter the dispatch record?" "No." The answer came too fast. I said nothing. Ryan stood. "Did Daniel Brooks tell you something?" There it was. Another calculation. Another attempt to identify what I knew. I folded my arms. "Why would Daniel know about your internal company records?" Ryan's face tightened. "I'm asking you. And I'm asking you." He rubbed a hand over his jaw. "Records get corrected all the time." "Corrected?" "If new information comes in." So changing captain declined deployment to family caller failed to provide verified victim identification was a correction? His face lost color. Silence. I had my answer. Ryan stepped toward me. "How did you see that?" "Interesting. Emily, you didn't ask whether it was true." His voice dropped. "How did you access company files?" "I helped build the archive." "You had no authorization." "I had legal access to the original system for years." "That doesn't mean now. You're more worried about how I found it than why you changed it." "I was documenting the situation accurately." "You rewrote it to blame me." "I documented that you did not identify the victims. 'Cause I didn't know who they were." "Exactly." "No." I stepped closer. "You had their names from the county request." His jaw flexed. "I didn't personally review every field. But you personally refused it." He stared at me. "I made an operational decision." You made a business decision. That is the same thing when you run a company. No, Ryan. My voice stayed calm. That's only the same thing to you. He walked away. For the first time, he didn't try to convince me. He just said, you need to be very careful with company information. I looked at his back. So do you. The next morning, I hired a lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Sloan. She was in her late 40s, wore dark blue reading glasses, and had the unnerving habit of staying silent until people told her more than they intended. I liked her immediately. She read through my notes. Then she looked up. You want a divorce? Yes. Not a separation. No. You're sure? I've been married to a man who needed me for years and respected me for almost none of them. Rebecca nodded. That's emotional. I know. She tapped the copy of the dispatch log. This is legal. I leaned forward. I don't want his company. Good. I don't want revenge through the divorce. Also good. I want what I'm entitled to and I want out. That I can work with. Then her expression changed. Now we need to talk about these records. I told her how I had accessed the old cloud archive. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, do not delete anything. I haven't. Do not modify anything. I won't. Do not access new systems you don't have current authorization for. Okay. And do not confront him with every piece of evidence you have. I looked at her. Why? Because people who alter records become very interested in knowing what records still exist. That sentence stayed with me. Rebecca continued. If the county or insurance investigators request documents, let them do it through proper channels. You preserve what you already had lawful access to. Nothing more. I nodded. Understood. She studied me. You've spent a long time managing risk for everyone else, haven't you? I almost smiled. Yes. Then start doing it for yourself. I left her office feeling lighter. Not happy. Not free yet. But directed. Over the next 2 weeks, the evidence grew without me chasing it illegally. Daniel forwarded the formal county timeline through the investigator. The dispatch request showed George and Linda's names. The response from Carter Technical Rescue showed the deployment had been declined. Then Marcus Reed called me. Marcus had worked for Ryan for almost 6 years. He was one of the first rescue technicians I had helped hire. I answered carefully. Marcus. Emily. He sounded nervous. Can we talk? About what? A pause. That night, my hand tightened around the phone. Okay, I don't want to do this over the phone. We met at a coffee shop outside Asheville. Marcus kept looking toward the door. I noticed immediately. You're worried Ryan will see you. He gave a humorless smile. Ryan sees betrayal everywhere right now. Did he send you? Marcus looked offended. No. Then tell me. He leaned forward. We were at Summit Ridge when the county request came through. My heart started beating faster. You saw it? I heard part of it over radio. Then Kyle showed Ryan the digital request. I went still. Ryan saw it? Marcus nodded. On the tablet. Did he read the names? Marcus hesitated. I can't swear what his eyes landed on. My stomach sank. But he knew it was a serious county assist. High-angle vehicle recovery. Possible occupants trapped. I stared at him. What did you say? I asked. Should we roll? What did Ryan say? Marcus looked down at his coffee. He said no. I swallowed. Exactly what did he say? Marcus rubbed his thumb against the cup. He said, County can handle it. We're not walking out on Blake tonight. My eyes burned. Travis Blake? Yeah. Marcus looked embarrassed. Travis had investors there. Ryan wanted the demonstration to go well. And Megan? She was there. Of course she was. Marcus continued. Later, Kyle told us there might be a family connection. Ryan still didn't deploy. What family connection? He didn't say. My chest tightened. Did Ryan ask you to change anything afterward? Marcus looked at me. Not immediately. Then he nodded. 2 days after the accident, he had me sign a revised incident summary. What did it say? That deployment was delayed because victim identification was unclear. And was that true? Marcus's face hardened. No. He swallowed. The request was declined. It wasn't delayed. I sat back. Will you tell the county that? He looked scared again. I have a mortgage, Emily. I know. I've got 2 kids. I know. If Ryan loses those contracts, I'm not asking you to destroy your job, but if they subpoena me, tell the truth. Marcus looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. That I can do. When I got home, Ryan had left flowers on the table. White roses. My favorite. Or they used to be. There was a card. I'm sorry for everything. We need to find our way back. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then Ryan came in behind me. I thought you might like those. I turned. He looked tired. Genuinely tired. For one dangerous second, I remembered the man who used to bring me gas station coffee during 12-hour hospital shifts. The man who once drove 40 minutes because I forgot my lunch. The man who cried when I paid his first insurance premium. Ryan. He stepped closer. I know I've handled this badly. I said nothing. I'm grieving. So am I. I know. That surprised me. He continued. I've said things I shouldn't have said. Like what? His expression shifted. There it was. The limit of his apology. He wanted forgiveness without specificity. I don't know. A lot. Did I cause your parents' deaths? Ryan flinched. Emily. Yes or no? It's complicated. No, it isn't. He exhaled. I'm not doing this again. Then we have nothing to talk about. He reached for my hand. Pulled it away. We could try counseling. I stared at him. You want marriage counseling? Yes. Why? His eyes narrowed slightly. Because I don't want to lose my wife. I almost believed him. Then he added, and this investigation is putting both of us under a microscope. There it was. Both of us. The company. The image. The liability. I nodded slowly. You don't want to lose your wife. No. You want to lose the witness. His face changed. That's sick. No. I looked him straight in the eye. What's sick is making me think I could have saved them when you had the county request in front of you. Ryan's expression hardened. You don't know what I had in front of me. I know enough. He picked up the flowers and threw them into the trash. Fine. His voice went cold. If that's what you want, fine. I watched him walk away. That night, I slept in the guest room. 2 days later, George and Linda's estate attorney called. Mrs. Carter? Yes, this is Michael Hart. I represented George and Linda Carter. I sat down. What happened? Nothing has happened. I'm contacting beneficiaries regarding their estate plan and family trust. Beneficiaries? I assumed he meant Ryan and Rachel. When is the meeting? Friday afternoon. I'll let Ryan know. You don't need to. I frowned. Why? Mr. Carter has already been notified. Something in his tone made me straighten. Then why are you calling me? A pause. Because George and Linda included you. Friday afternoon, Ryan sat across from Michael Hart with Rachel beside him. I sat at the other end of the conference table. Ryan looked irritated that I was there. What is she doing here? Michael didn't blink. Mrs. Carter was asked to attend. Ryan looked at me. I shrugged. I got the same call you did. Michael opened a folder. George and Linda updated their estate plan 2 years ago. Ryan leaned back. Fine. Michael continued. Several assets were transferred into a family trust, rather than left directly to either child. Ryan's expression changed. What assets? The residence, investment accounts, and certain retirement assets. Rachel frowned. Why? Your parents had specific concerns regarding long-term management and family conflict. Ryan gave a short laugh. Family conflict? Michael ignored the tone. The trust provides distributions to both of you under defined terms. Ryan leaned forward. And the rest? Michael turned one page. There are separate gifts. He looked at Rachel first. Then at me. Linda and George left a direct bequest to Emily. Ryan froze. What? I did too. Michael repeated it. A direct bequest. Ryan's face flushed. She isn't their daughter. Michael looked at him calmly. Your parents were aware of that. Rachel glanced at Ryan. How much? Michael gave the amount. It wasn't enormous, but it was enough to change my life. Enough to restart without fear. Ryan laughed in disbelief. You're kidding. No, this makes no sense. Michael closed the financial summary. There is also a letter. Ryan went still. For who? Emily. The room fell silent. Michael handed me a sealed envelope. Linda's handwriting was on the front. Emily. My fingers started shaking before I opened it. Ryan watched every movement. I unfolded the letter. The first lines blurred. Then I forced myself to read. Emily, if you are reading this, then either George and I are gone, or our attorney finally convinced me to stop hiding letters in kitchen drawers. Despite everything, I almost laughed. That was Linda. Even on paper. I kept reading. Ryan has become too impressed by money. George says I should not interfere in your marriage. I say mothers earn the right to interfere when their sons are behaving like fools. My throat closed. I looked up. Ryan's face had gone pale. Then I read the line that broke me. If there ever comes a day when Ryan makes you feel like you are not part of this family, remember this. He is the one who forgot what family means. Not you. I covered my mouth. Rachel started crying. Ryan looked away. There was more. You stood beside him before success made him think he stood alone. You gave more than anyone had the right to ask from you. If he forgets that, please do not forget yourself with him. I couldn't read the rest aloud. I didn't need to. For weeks, I had been asking whether Linda would blame me, whether George would, whether they had died thinking I had failed them. Now I finally understood. They had seen Ryan changing long before I had admitted it to myself. Ryan stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. Rachel looked up. Ryan. No. They wrote this 2 years ago? Michael nodded. Ryan's jaw tightened. So they were judging my marriage behind my back. Rachel's face twisted. Mom is dead and that's what you're mad about? I'm mad that everyone keeps acting like Emily is the victim. The room went silent. I looked at him. Then something strange happened. For the first time, his words didn't hurt. Not really. I folded Linda's letter carefully. I'm done trying to convince you. Ryan stared at me. Convince me of what? That I mattered to them. I put the letter back in the envelope. They already did. I walked out before he could answer. 3 days later, Daniel and I crossed paths during a joint hospital fire department training. He waited until the others left the room. How are you doing? I almost gave him the automatic answer. Fine. Instead I said better. He nodded. That sounds real. I looked at him. Some nights I still think if I had known who was in the truck sooner. Daniel's expression changed immediately. Don't. I know. No. I don't think you do. He stepped closer but not too close. You called 911. I said nothing. You went to the scene. Yes. You called the person with the equipment. Yes. You stayed there all night. My eyes burned. Daniel's voice remained steady. That night, you did everything one person could do. I looked down, and it wasn't enough. No, he didn't lie. That doesn't mean you failed. I swallowed hard. Nobody had said it that way before. Not my mother. Not my father. Not even Rebecca. Daniel didn't tell me everything happened for a reason. He didn't tell me to forgive. He didn't tell me to move on. He just told me the truth. I had done what I could. Ryan had made the choice I could not control. The following afternoon, Rebecca called me while I was leaving the hospital. The county has scheduled the hearing. My hand tightened around the phone. When? 2 weeks. What exactly are they reviewing? Carter Technical Rescue's mutual aid response, the altered internal records, and possible contract compliance issues. I stopped walking. Will I have to testify? Probably. I took a slow breath. Okay. Rebecca paused. There's something else. What? Ryan's attorney is taking the position that your incomplete information materially affected his decision. I laughed. I couldn't help it. He's still doing it. Yes. He knows the county request had their names. Yes. And Marcus may testify that he declined anyway. Yes. And he still wants to blame me. That appears to be the strategy. I closed my eyes. Fine. You sound calm. I am. Why? Because I had finally reached the point where Ryan's lies no longer made me question myself. Because I'm done arguing with him. That evening, Ryan was waiting for me when I got home. An envelope sat on the table. He looked at me. I got the hearing notice. So did I. His face was tight. Whatever happens in that room affects both of us. I set my bag down. No, Ryan. He stared at me. It affects you. Then I placed another envelope beside the hearing notice. He looked at it. What's that? Something I should have given you sooner. Ryan opened it. His face changed as he read the first page. Divorce petition. His eyes shot up. You're serious? Yes. He stood so fast the chair hit the wall. You're filing for divorce 2 weeks before a public hearing? I filed days ago. You're trying to destroy me. No. Picked up my keys. You did that yourself. Ryan stared at me with a look I had never seen before. Not grief. Not anger. Fear. Real fear. And for the first time I knew exactly why. At the hearing, Ryan would have to explain his decision in front of county officials, firefighters, insurers, employees, and reporters. He still believed he could survive that. He still believed he could say I gave him bad information. He still believed I would hesitate when the time came. What Ryan didn't know was that I had one more piece of evidence. A recording from the night George and Linda died. And once the room heard his own voice saying exactly why he refused to send a rescue team, there would be no story left for him to rewrite. Ryan's attorney looked straight at the county board and said my name like it was evidence. Mrs. Carter failed to provide complete victim identification. For a second, I almost admired the nerve it took to say that in public. George and Linda were dead. Ryan had refused the county's technical assistance request. He had altered his company records afterward. And somehow I was still the problem. Ryan sat 2 seats away from his attorney, shoulders stiff, jaw tight. He wouldn't look at me. Not yet. He still believed this hearing could be managed. He still believed enough money, enough careful wording, and enough legal language could turn a terrible choice into a misunderstanding. He had no idea what was about to be played in that room. 2 nights before the hearing, Megan Blake came to see me. I almost didn't open the door. She stood on my parents' front porch wearing a cream coat, and the kind of expression people use when they want to look concerned without taking responsibility for anything. Can we talk? I crossed my arms. About what? Ryan. No. Emily, please. I think I've heard enough sentences that start with Ryan's name. Her mouth tightened. This affects more than your marriage. I stared at her. There it is. What? The reason you're here. She sighed. My brother's resort is getting dragged into this. Your brother's resort staged the demonstration Ryan chose over a county rescue. That isn't fair. Neither was what happened to George and Linda. Megan flinched. I cared about them. Then you should understand why I'm not protecting him. I'm not asking you to protect him. You came to my parents' house 2 days before a public hearing. Her eyes hardened. I'm asking you not to destroy everything he built over one mistake. I actually laughed. One mistake. He made the wrong call. He made several wrong calls. Emily, he refused the rescue. He didn't know it was his parents. That makes it worse. She stopped. I stepped closer. If he had thought it was you in that ravine, he would have brought every truck he owned. Megan looked away. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Her face tightened. That's your anger talking. No. His own words told me. That got her attention. She looked back at me. What words? I smiled without humor. Worried. She went still. I'm trying to keep this from becoming uglier than it already is. You sat beside my husband at his mother's funeral after he told me I wasn't family. I didn't ask him to do that. But you stayed. Megan's lips pressed together. That funeral wasn't about you. I nodded. You and Ryan really do have a lot in common. She exhaled sharply. Destroying Carter Technical Rescue won't bring them back. No. I held her gaze. But lying about why they died won't bring them back either. Her expression changed then. Not guilt. Calculation. The same look Ryan wore when he was deciding how much truth he could afford. She lowered her voice. My brother has investors, employees, people who have nothing to do with your marriage. Then Travis should have no trouble showing that his resort had nothing to do with Ryan's decision. You know it's not that simple. It is for me. Megan stared at me for several seconds. Then she said, Ryan really did love you once. That caught me off guard. I didn't answer. He used to talk about you all the time. My throat tightened. She continued. Even in high school, he wanted someone to believe in him. You did. Then maybe that should have been enough. Megan looked almost sad. Maybe. Then she turned and left. For a few minutes I stood in the doorway. Years earlier those words might have broken me. Ryan loved you once. Now all I could think was that love that only survives while one person is useful isn't love worth mourning forever. The hearing was held in a county government meeting room in Asheville. Rebecca sat beside me. Daniel was several rows behind us. Marcus had arrived with his own attorney. Rachel was there too. She had not spoken to Ryan before the hearing began. That alone told me something. Ryan's attorney, Thomas Grady, began with the version I already knew. Mr. Carter acknowledges that, in hindsight, additional assistance would have been appropriate. In hindsight, as if a storm had simply confused everyone. He was attending a commercial demonstration when he received an emotional phone call from his wife, who believed her own parents were involved. Rebecca leaned toward me. Stay calm. I am. Good. Thomas continued. Mrs. Carter could not verify the occupants of the vehicle. Mr. Carter reasonably deferred to the established county response structure rather than placing additional private personnel at risk. One of the board members, Commissioner Hayes, looked down at a document. Mr. Carter, was your company contacted through the county mutual aid system? Ryan finally spoke. Yes. His voice was controlled. And did that request identify George Carter and Linda Carter? Ryan hesitated. I did not personally review every field of the request at the time. Hayes looked at him. That was not my question. Ryan's attorney shifted. Commissioner. Hayes raised a hand. I asked Mr. Carter. Ryan swallowed. The request may have included names. May have? I don't recall. I watched him. That was the man I had been married to. He had remembered every insult I ever gave him, every time my parents embarrassed him, every business client who had ever questioned a fee. But now he could not remember whether his mother and father's names were on a rescue request. Hayes looked at Daniel. Captain Brooks? Daniel stood. Yes, sir. Was the request complete? Yes. Did it identify the occupants? Yes. With names? Yes. George Carter and Linda Carter? Yes. The room shifted. Ryan stared at the table. Thomas leaned toward him and whispered something. Then the county attorney called Marcus Reed. Marcus walked forward slowly. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. After he was sworn in, he kept his hands clasped together. Mr. Reed, the county attorney said, where were you on the night of the Carter accident? At Summit Ridge Resort. With whom? Ryan Carter. 3 other technicians. Some resort staff. And why were you there? A rescue equipment demonstration. For a potential commercial contract? Yes. Did you become aware of a county technical assistance request? Marcus glanced at Ryan. Ryan looked back at him. It lasted maybe 1 second, but everyone saw it. Marcus looked away. Yes. What did you do? I asked Ryan if we should roll. And what did he say? Thomas stood. Objection to paraphrased recollection without documentary support. The board chair looked at him. This is an administrative hearing, Mr. Grady. Sit down. Thomas sat. Marcus swallowed. He said county could handle it. Anything else? Marcus hesitated. His face turned red. Yes. What? He said we weren't walking out on Blake that night. The room went quiet. The county attorney continued. Did Mr. Carter say the team was unavailable because of a technical limitation? No. Personnel shortage? No. Equipment failure? No. He simply chose to remain at the demonstration? Yes. Ryan suddenly leaned toward his attorney. This is ridiculous. Hayes looked at him. You'll have time to respond. Marcus was then shown the original internal dispatch summary. He identified it. Then the revised version. He identified that too. The county attorney asked which is accurate. Marcus looked at Ryan again. Then at the document. The first one. The one stating deployment was declined by the captain? Yes. And the revised version? Marcus's jaw tightened. It makes it sound like we were waiting for information. Were you? No. Who instructed you to sign the revised summary? Marcus closed his eyes for half a second. Ryan. A few people in the back whispered. Ryan's attorney immediately stood. My client disputes that characterization. Marcus looked up. I have the email. Ryan turned toward him so fast I saw the anger flash across his face. Marcus's attorney placed a printed message on the table. I looked at Rebecca. She raised one eyebrow. That's new. The county attorney read from the email. Please sign the corrected incident report. Original language creates an inaccurate impression that we refused a valid deployment. The sender was Ryan. The room got even quieter. Ryan finally spoke. I was correcting an incomplete report. The board chair looked at him. You will have an opportunity to testify. I'm being accused of falsifying. Mr. Carter. His attorney put a hand on his sleeve. Ryan sat back. His face was pale now. He was losing control. But he still had one defense left. Me. When Ryan finally testified, Thomas guided him carefully. You received a personal call from Emily? Yes. What did she tell you? She believed her parents were in the vehicle. Did she tell you your parents were involved? No. Had you received confirmation that your parents were involved? Ryan paused. Not in a way I personally processed at the time. Rebecca wrote something on her notepad. I leaned closer. What? She turned it toward me. Careful wording means scared client. I almost smiled. Thomas continued. If you had known your parents were inside that truck, what would you have done? Ryan finally looked at me. His eyes were red. I would have gone. There it was. He said it again. Publicly. I would have taken every truck, every piece of equipment, every person I had. My stomach turned. Thomas nodded as if Ryan had just proven his innocence. So your decision was based on incomplete information? Yes. The county attorney stood for cross-examination. Mr. Carter, if you had known George and Linda were in the vehicle, you would have deployed? Yes. If you had believed Thomas and Susan Walker were in the vehicle? Ryan's face changed. Thomas immediately stood. Relevance. The board chair said. Overruled. Ryan looked at me. I would have relied on county response. So your willingness to deploy depended on who the victims were? No. That is what you just said. I'm saying family information changes decision-making. Why? Ryan's jaw tightened. It just does. The county attorney let the silence sit. Then he asked, did private payment affect your decision? Ryan shook his head. No. I felt Rebecca shift beside me. That was it. The lie we had been waiting for. The county attorney looked toward our table. Mrs. Carter, you provided an audio recording to investigators? Yes. Thomas stood. We object to admission. We have concerns about authenticity and recording consent. Rebecca stood. The recording originated from an automated call recording application, Mrs. Carter, used for business-related communications. Metadata has been preserved. Both counsel received a copy in discovery. The board chair looked toward the county attorney. Has authenticity been verified? Yes. Play it. Ryan's head snapped toward me. His face changed. For the first time all day, he looked truly afraid. Emily. I said nothing. The recording began. My own voice came first. Thin. Panicked. Dad and Mom may be trapped down there. Then Ryan. Clear. Impatient. Your parents don't have money for a private rescue. A few people in the room shifted. The recording continued. My voice. They could be dying. Ryan. And I'm supposed to move an entire crew for a job nobody can pay for? Someone behind me gasped. I didn't turn around. I watched Ryan. His face had lost all color. He leaned toward Thomas. I was angry. She was provoking me. The recording kept playing. My voice. They're people. Ryan. I have responsibilities. Then. Call the county. The line disconnected. When the audio ended, no one spoke for several seconds. Commissioner Hayes looked at Ryan. You just testified that payment had no bearing on your decision. Ryan swallowed. It didn't. Hayes stared at him. We all heard you say otherwise. That was a marital argument. Daniel's expression hardened from the back row. Hayes said, you were discussing whether to deploy emergency rescue equipment. Ryan's voice rose. I was under pressure. The board chair cut in. So were the people at the bottom of the ravine. Ryan stopped. For the first time, he had no answer. I thought that was the worst moment of the hearing. I was wrong. Daniel was called back to provide supplemental evidence. He sat down with a folder in front of him. The county attorney said, Captain Brooks, your department also recovered a 911 call from Linda Carter's phone. My heart stopped. I looked at Daniel. He had warned me there was a call. He had not made me listen to it before the hearing. I had chosen not to. I wasn't ready. Now I had no choice. Daniel's eyes met mine. For just a second he looked apologetic. Then the audio began. Static. Breathing. A dispatcher. 911. What is your emergency? Linda's voice came through faintly. Car went down. I covered my mouth. Ryan went completely still. The dispatcher asked for her name. Linda Carter. Ryan shut his eyes. And who is with you? My husband. George Carter. There was a pause. The dispatcher asked what vehicle they were in. Linda struggled to answer. Ford pickup. Belongs to Tom Walker. Every lie Ryan had told about unclear identification died in that sentence. But the recording wasn't over. The dispatcher asked Linda to stay awake. Linda was crying softly. Then she said something I almost didn't understand. Emily. The dispatcher asked. Who is Emily? My daughter-in-law. My eyes filled instantly. Linda breathed hard. Is she safe? The dispatcher told her help was coming. Linda whispered, don't let her come down here. My shoulders started shaking. Please. Emily will try. I broke. I pressed both hands over my mouth because I didn't want the room to hear me cry. Beside me, Rebecca put one hand over mine. Across the room, Rachel was sobbing openly. Ryan stared at the speaker. His face looked destroyed. His mother had been trapped in a wrecked truck, injured and terrified. And she had been worried about me. The woman Ryan had pushed into the second row at her funeral. The woman he had blamed. The woman he had told was not family. Linda's last clear concern had been whether I was safe. The recording ended. No one spoke. Not for a long time. Then Ryan whispered, "Mom." He covered his face. For the first time since the accident, I believed he understood at least part of what he had done. But understanding didn't erase it. The board recessed for almost an hour. When we returned, the decision was careful and procedural. No dramatic criminal sentence. No immediate handcuffs. Reality was slower than that. But it was devastating enough. Carter Technical Rescue was suspended from county mutual aid participation pending further review. Its eligibility for future public safety contracts was frozen. The altered records were referred to the appropriate county and insurance investigators. Several existing agreements would be independently reviewed. Ryan sat completely still. His attorney whispered to him. He didn't respond. By that afternoon, local news had picked up the hearing. By the next morning, 2 commercial clients had suspended their contracts. Then 3 more. Summit Ridge acted fastest. Travis Blake released a statement distancing the resort from Ryan's decision and terminating negotiations for the long-term rescue contract. Ryan called him immediately. "I wasn't there, but Rachel later told me what happened." "You're cutting me loose?" Ryan shouted. Travis replied, "I have employees, guests, and investors. I'm not attaching this resort to a rescue company accused of refusing a deployment over payment. You were there that night. I didn't make your decision. Megan told me to stay." There was a pause. Then Travis said, "Don't put my sister in your report too." He hung up. Megan lasted less than a week. Ryan called her repeatedly. She ignored him. Finally, he confronted her outside the resort offices. She looked at him with the same careful expression she had worn at my parents' house. "You said you were with me." "I said I supported you." Ryan laughed bitterly. "What's the difference?" "The difference is I'm not destroying my life to prove it." His face hardened. "So that's it?" Megan folded her arms. "My brother's getting calls from investors because your voice is all over the news talking about whether accident victims can pay. You were standing next to me. I didn't say those words. You wanted me at that dinner. I wanted you at a business dinner. I didn't tell you to leave your parents in a ravine." That was the last time Ryan and Megan were seen together socially. 2 weeks after the hearing, Ryan came to the apartment I had rented near the hospital. I almost didn't let him in. He looked thinner. His beard had grown in unevenly. The expensive confidence was gone. He stood in the doorway holding nothing. No flowers. No bourbon. No lawyer. Just himself. "Can I come in?" "No." His mouth tightened. "Emily, please. What do you want? I need to talk to you. You've had 8 years." "I know." That surprised me. He rubbed his face. "I know. I waited." He looked down. "I made a mistake. One mistake. Still, I almost closed the door." Then he added, "More than one. I stayed." He swallowed. "I shouldn't have said what I said on the phone. No. I shouldn't have stayed at Summit Ridge. No. I shouldn't have changed the record. No." His eyes filled. "And I shouldn't have blamed you." That one took longer for me to answer. "No." Ryan looked at me. "I can't sleep." I said nothing. "I keep hearing Mom's voice." My chest tightened, but I refused to rescue him from that either. "She was asking about you." "I know. She was dying and she was asking if you were safe." His voice broke. "I know." He covered his mouth for a second. Then he whispered, "What kind of person does what I did?" I looked at him. I could have answered. I could have told him greedy, cowardly, selfish, cruel. Instead I said, "That's something you have to figure out." He looked devastated. "I lost everything." "No." He shook his head. "The contracts. Megan. Half my staff. The company may not survive. You still have your life. Doesn't feel like it. That doesn't make you dead." He stared at me, then finally asked the question I had known was coming. "Can we try again?" I closed my eyes for 1 second. 8 years flashed through my mind. The old kitchen table. His first payroll crisis. The nights we ate takeout over stacks of invoices. The way he used to kiss my forehead before leaving for calls. The man I thought I married. Then I remembered the phone. "Your parents don't have money." The funeral. "You're not family." The altered record. I opened my eyes. "No." Ryan's face collapsed. "Emily, I tried to save your parents that night. He looked down. I know. I spent 8 years trying to save our marriage. His mouth trembled. I know. Now? I took a slow breath. I don't want to save anything that belongs to you. He stared at me. For once he didn't argue. He didn't tell me I was emotional. He didn't blame my parents. He didn't mention the company. He just stood there. Then he nodded. Very slowly. I closed the door. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. Because 3 days later, Rebecca called me before my shift. Emily, we have a complication. I stopped in the hospital hallway. What kind? The company's insurance carrier is reviewing the altered records. That's not surprising. No. Her voice tightened. But someone just provided them with a second internal file. My stomach dropped. What file? A document created after the accident. By Ryan? We don't know yet. I went still. Rebecca continued. It references you by name. My grip tightened around the phone. What does it say? There was a brief pause. That you were supposedly involved in the decision not to deploy. For 1 second I couldn't speak. Ryan had already blamed me publicly. He had already rewritten one dispatch record. But if someone had created another document using my name before the investigation began, this might be bigger than a desperate lie told after his parents died. It could mean Ryan had been preparing to use me as his shield long before I understood what he was doing. I lowered my voice. Rebecca. Yes. Send it to me. And when the file arrived 10 minutes later, the signature at the bottom was mine. Except I had never signed it. The signature at the bottom of the document looked like mine. That was the problem. It looked close enough to convince someone who had never watched me sign my name. But Ryan had. He knew I never looped the W in Walker that way. He knew because for years, I had signed payroll forms, insurance renewals, vendor agreements, and emergency service paperwork across from him at our kitchen table. And when I enlarged the file on my phone, one thought hit me harder than anger. This wasn't panic. This had been planned. I called Rebecca before my shift even started. That isn't my signature. I know. Her answer came so quickly I stopped walking. What do you mean, you know? I compared it to the verified signatures we already have. My stomach tightened. And whoever did this copied the general shape but not your normal stroke pattern. I stepped into an empty staff room and closed the door. What exactly does the document say? Rebecca paused. It's an internal liability memo dated the morning after the accident. I closed my eyes. Read it. Emily, read it. She exhaled. Per discussion with Emily Carter, family identification remained uncertain, and deployment was held pending confirmation. My hand tightened around the phone. She continued. Then it says you agreed that county resources were sufficient until private authorization could be established. I laughed. A short, ugly sound. I was at the roadblock begging people to find another technical team. I know. And Ryan knew that. Yes. Who created the file? We're still tracing the metadata. I went quiet. Rebecca added, do not call him. I wasn't planning to. That sounded like a lie. It was. Emily. I pressed my lips together. Fine. Let me handle it. He forged my name. Possibly. Rebecca. I'm your lawyer. I don't get to say definitely until I can prove it. I leaned against the wall. So prove it. We will. For the rest of my shift, I forced myself to focus on patients. A man with an infected cut. A woman with a migraine and blood pressure high enough to scare her. A college student who had dislocated his shoulder and kept apologizing to his mother for ruining her day. Ordinary problems. Pain that could be treated. Questions that had answers. It reminded me why coming back to the ER had saved me in a way I hadn't expected. Here facts mattered. A blood pressure was either high or it wasn't. A scan showed a fracture or it didn't. Person needed help and we helped them. Nobody sat beside the exam room asking whether their family could afford enough compassion. Near the end of my shift, Karen found me charting. You're staring through the computer. I'm charting. You've typed the same sentence twice. I looked down. She was right. Karen folded her arms. What happened? I hesitated. My husband may have forged my signature on a company document. Her eyebrows rose. Ex-husband. Not legally yet. Emotionally? Very. That got a small smile out of her. Then she became serious again. Do you need to leave? No. Do you need a lawyer? Already have one. Good. She started to walk away then turned back. Emily? Yeah. Don't let whatever he did drag you out of here again. I looked at her. What do you mean? You came back different. Different good or different bad? Different like you finally remember you're allowed to make decisions for yourself. My throat tightened. Karen pointed toward my badge. You earned that before you ever married him. Then she walked away. I looked down at my name. Emily Walker Aron. I had already switched back to my maiden name at work. First, I told myself it was practical. The truth was simpler. I like seeing it. 3 days later, Rebecca called. We traced the document. I sat down immediately. To who? The file was created under Ryan's administrative account. My pulse jumped. Of course it was. But that's not the most useful part. What is? The signature image was inserted from a scanned document. I went still. What document? An old insurance authorization you signed 6 years ago. I shut my eyes. He copied my signature. That appears to be what happened. I felt sick. Can he say an employee did it? He can say anything. Rebecca's tone sharpened slightly, but the access log shows his account opened the old scan, then created the memo 8 minutes later. I covered my mouth. There was no heartbreak left in me, only disbelief that I had spent years trusting someone capable of that. What happens now? The insurance carrier has been notified. So has the county investigator. Is this criminal? Could become a separate issue. I'm not going to speculate beyond that. I nodded, though she couldn't see me. Rebecca continued. More importantly for you, he no longer has a credible way to claim you participated in the decision. I looked out at the hospital parking lot. So that part is over? That part? The part where everyone gets to decide whether I killed George and Linda. Rebecca went quiet, then said legally it should be. I swallowed. Good. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like setting down something heavy I had been carrying for too long. The divorce took months. Ryan fought harder over control than money. That didn't surprise me anymore. He wanted to keep the house. Then he wanted to keep all company-related assets. Then he argued that because I had left full-time nursing years ago, my contributions to Carter Technical Rescue were primarily marital support. Rebecca nearly laughed when she read that part. What? I asked. She slid one of the old company binders across the table. Payroll setup, vendor contracts, state registration documents, insurance compliance, scheduling systems. She raised an eyebrow. Apparently marital support came with a lot of spreadsheets. I smiled. For once it felt good. I didn't ask for Ryan's entire company. I didn't want it. The company reminded me of the worst years of my life, and the best parts of myself that I had handed over too cheaply. The final settlement gave me my fair share of marital assets, protected the bequest from George and Linda, and removed me from all liability connected to Carter Technical Rescue. When Rebecca asked whether I wanted to fight for more, I shook my head. No. You're sure? Yes. You could. I know. Then why not? I looked at the stack of papers. Because I don't want the rest of my life measured by how much I took from Ryan. Rebecca studied me, then nodded. That's a better reason than most. Carter Technical Rescue survived. Barely. The company didn't disappear overnight. Reality was less satisfying than that. There was no single day when Ryan lost everything. Instead, it happened slowly. One county contract ended. Then another wasn't renewed. 2 senior technicians left. Marcus resigned after giving his statement and took a job with a regional emergency management contractor. Several insurers increased premiums. The equipment fleet was reduced. Ryan sold one of the specialized trucks he had once bragged was the best in Western North Carolina. The most important thing he lost wasn't money. It was trust. People who worked in rescue needed to believe the person beside them would show up when things got bad. Ryan had proven that, under the wrong circumstances, he might first ask who was worth the cost. That followed him everywhere. Megan disappeared from his life almost as quickly as the contracts did. I didn't hear about it from Ryan. Rachel told me. She called me one afternoon after months of silence. I almost didn't answer. Then I did. Hello? Emily? Her voice was hesitant. Hi, Rachel. Another pause. Do you have a minute? I sat down. Yes. She took a breath. I owe you an apology. I didn't rescue her from the silence. She continued. I read the county report. I said nothing. And the insurance investigation. My hand tightened slightly around the phone. And I listened to the recordings. Her voice broke. I heard Mom. I closed my eyes. So did I. Rachel started crying. I blamed you. Yes. I said awful things. Yes. I told myself Ryan didn't understand what was happening. I waited. Then she said the hardest part. I think I needed to believe that. Why? Because if I blamed you, then I didn't have to admit my brother chose a business dinner over mom and dad. My throat tightened. Rachel took a shaky breath. And I didn't have to admit he would have gone if he thought they were richer. I stared at the floor. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't say it was okay. It wasn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So I told her the truth. Thank you for saying it. Rachel cried harder. I miss her. I do too. For the first time since the funeral, grief belonged to both of us without blame attached to it. That mattered. Months later, after the divorce became final, I made a decision about George and Linda's bequest. Dad thought I should save it. Mom thought I should buy a small house. Rebecca told me not to rush. All of them were right. But part of the money already felt like it had a purpose. I met with Daniel one afternoon after a joint EMS training. I spread several pages across a conference room table. He looked down. What is this? A bad idea, probably. That's encouraging. I smiled. I want to start an emergency assistance fund. Daniel's expression changed. For what? Families who get stuck with rescue-related costs they can't handle. He looked at me for a long moment. Private technical rescue? Partly. Transportation. Emergency lodging. Certain post-rescue medical expenses. Whatever can legally fit. Daniel leaned back. You've thought about this. For months. What are you calling it? I hesitated, then slid the top page toward him. George Linda Carter Emergency Assistance Fund. Daniel's eyes stayed on the names. When he looked up, his face had softened. That's good. I don't want what happened to them turned into some inspirational slogan. Then don't. I don't want Ryan's words to be the last thing that defines that night. Daniel nodded. Then don't let them. I looked at him. I keep hearing it. Which part? Who's going to pay for it? Daniel's jaw tightened. I tapped the proposal. I want this fund to answer that question before somebody decides a life isn't worth the trouble. He was quiet. Then he said, I know people who can help you structure the rescue side. That's why I showed you. A faint smile touched his face. So I'm free consulting now? You work for the county. My tax dollars at work. I laughed. It was the first easy laugh I had had in a long time. The fund started small. That was intentional. No giant gala. No dramatic press release. Just a legal structure, hospital social workers, county contacts, and a simple rule. Emergency help did not depend on whether a family looked wealthy enough to deserve it. The first family we helped was a young couple from Tennessee whose teenage son broke his leg on a backcountry trail. The father kept apologizing when he learned the fund would cover 2 nights of lodging near the hospital. I can pay it back. The social worker told him he didn't have to. He looked embarrassed. I don't take charity. I heard myself say, then don't think of it that way. He looked at me. What should I think of it as? Someone helping you on a bad day. He swallowed. That's simple. It should be. After he left, I sat alone for a minute. Linda would have understood. George too. I wished they were there to see it. Daniel never rushed me. That mattered more than he probably knew. He didn't appear at my apartment with flowers. He didn't tell me Ryan had been a fool to lose me. He didn't use my loneliness as an opening. Sometimes he sent me a message after a difficult rescue. You okay? Sometimes I answered. Sometimes I didn't. He never pushed. One night after a training session, we walked toward the parking lot together. He handed me a coffee. I looked at it. You remembered. 2 sugars. No cream. You're predictable. I prefer consistent. He smiled. Then I said I'm not ready. Daniel's smile faded, but not in a bad way. For what? You know. He put one hand in his jacket pocket. Emily, I asked if you wanted coffee. I know. You're making this very dramatic. I looked at him. He almost smiled. Then his expression turned serious. I'm not waiting for you to become available. That stung slightly. He saw it. That came out wrong. A little. What I mean is, I'm not standing here keeping score. I waited. You don't owe me a relationship because I was decent to you when Ryan wasn't. My throat tightened. Daniel continued. If you're not ready, don't be ready. And if I never am, then I'll survive. I smiled. You sound pretty confident. I've survived worse than rejection by a nurse with control issues. I laughed. There it is. What? The insult. Observation. We stood there for a moment. Then Daniel nodded toward my car. Go home, Emily. You too. He didn't touch me. He didn't ask for anything, and somehow that made me trust him more. About a year after George and Linda died, I saw Ryan again at the cemetery. He looked older, not dramatically different, just worn down, the kind of tired that expensive clothes couldn't hide. He was standing near his parents' graves when I arrived. I almost turned around. Then he saw me. Emily, Ryan. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. He looked down at the flowers in my hand. Mom liked those. I know. I placed them near Linda's headstone. Ryan watched me. Then he said, the fund. I looked at him. I heard about it. I waited. His mouth tightened. George and Linda Carter Emergency Assistance Fund. Yes. He swallowed. Dad would have liked that. So would your mom. His eyes filled. Yeah. I expected him to ask about money. He didn't. He stared at his father's name. I finally understand what Dad meant. About what? He used to tell me the company was getting bigger and I was getting smaller. I remember George saying something similar once. I said nothing. Ryan gave a bitter laugh. I thought he was jealous. Of you? I know how that sounds. Do you? He looked at me. Yes. That surprised me. He rubbed one hand over his jaw. I lost most of the public work. I heard. Megan moved to Charlotte. I hadn't known that. I'm sorry. He laughed softly. No, you're not. No. For once, honesty didn't create a fight. Ryan looked at me. Is there really nothing I can do? I knew what he meant. A year earlier, that question might have made my heart race. Now it only made me sad for him. There is. His eyes lifted. For 1 second, hope appeared. I almost hated that I had caused it. Become the man your parents thought they raised. His face changed. I continued. But do it because it's the right thing. He swallowed. Not to get you back. No. I shook my head. Not to get me back. He looked away. That was the last time Ryan asked me to return. Several weeks later, I was called to support a mountain rescue as part of a hospital emergency response partnership. An older couple had become stranded after one of them slipped on a steep trail. The husband had injured his hip trying to keep his wife from falling farther. By the time the technical team brought them up, both were exhausted. The woman kept reaching for her husband. Don't take me somewhere he isn't. A paramedic smiled. Ma'am, we're putting both of you in the same ambulance. You promise? Promise. I checked her blood pressure. She gripped my hand. Is he okay? I looked toward her husband. He was arguing with another medic because he wanted them to treat his wife first. I almost laughed. He's stubborn. Her eyes filled. He always has been. Something in my chest tightened. George. Linda. For 1 second I saw them. Not at the bottom of the ravine. Not under white sheets. Alive. Arguing. Laughing. Eating ribs with my parents. Linda telling George he had loaded the dishwasher wrong. George pretending not to hear her. I had spent a year remembering them only through the worst night of their lives. I finally understood I didn't have to. The older couple was loaded into the ambulance together. No one asked who would pay before lowering the ropes. No one decided whether their lives were worth the fuel. They just went, because someone needed help. After the ambulance pulled away, Daniel walked over. You good? I nodded. Yeah. He looked at me suspiciously. That sounded real. It was. Growth. Don't ruin it. He smiled. Then he held up 2 paper cups. Coffee. I looked at him. A year ago, that question would have frightened me. It would have felt like a decision about the rest of my life. Now it was just coffee. And maybe that was the point. Coffee sounds good. Daniel handed me one. We started walking. He didn't take my hand. I didn't ask him to. Not yet. For years, I had introduced myself through other people. Ryan's wife. George and Linda's daughter-in-law. Tom and Susan's daughter. The woman behind Carter Technical Rescue. Then, after one terrible night, Ryan tried to give me a new identity. The reason. The mistake. The person to blame. For a while I believed him. I believed if I had made one different phone call, asked one better question, gotten to the mountain 10 minutes sooner, George and Linda might still be alive. But that wasn't the truth. I had made the call. I had begged for help. I had gone to the scene. I had stayed all night. And when the man I trusted refused to help, I kept trying anyway. I could not undo Ryan's choice. I could not bring George and Linda back. I could not recover the 8 years I spent shrinking myself so my marriage would feel bigger. But I could choose what came next. I could wear my scrubs again. I could put my name on a badge that belonged to me. I could help a family without asking what they had in the bank. I could forgive some people without forgetting what they had done. I could refuse to forgive others until I was ready. I could drink coffee with a good man and not owe him a future. I could build a life that wasn't organized around cleaning up someone else's mistakes. I was no longer Ryan Carter's wife. I was no longer Carter Technical Rescue's unpaid backbone. I was no longer anyone's excuse. My name was Emily Walker. And for the first time in a very long time, that was enough. Daniel glanced at me as we reached the parking area. What? I realized I was smiling. Nothing. You sure? I looked back toward the rescue crews packing up their equipment. A year earlier, I had stood near another mountain road and thought my life had ended. Now I knew better. Some endings don't feel like freedom when they happen. Sometimes they feel like grief. Sometimes they sound like a phone call going dead. Sometimes they look like divorce papers on a kitchen table. But that doesn't mean they aren't beginnings. I took a sip of coffee. Then I looked at Daniel. Actually, there is one thing. He raised an eyebrow. What? Next time I'm buying. He smiled. I'll hold you to that. For once, the thought of a next time didn't scare me. It made me curious. And after everything I had survived, curiosity felt a lot like hope. My new life hadn't arrived all at once. It was still unfolding. And this time, every choice in it belonged to me.